Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this bobble stitch bag here. It's made completely with bobble stitches. And then it does have the store-bought handles on it. You don't have to use those. You can make your own if you want. And the rows, I will not be showing you how to make the rows or the leaves. It's got leaves. I know you probably can't tell because of the dark color, but I do have a tutorial for that, which I will put below in the description box, and I'll put a link to the rose tutorial on the screen right now. But we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to make the bag real quick. Okay, for this project I used just regular Red Heart Super Saver, which is a medium weight worsted weight 4-ply acrylic. Now you don't have to use this brand. Any type of 4-ply yarn will work, and of course you can use any colors that you want. I use it in the black and in the white. Now you're probably going to need about 200 yards of each color, maybe 220 of the black, because I used just a little bit more black for the brim than I did white. And then for the handles, these handles are actually donated to me. This is what they were in. I usually get my handles at off old bags at resale shops, but someone was kind enough to donate me a lot of purse handles, so I used these, and I'm not sure where they came from, but I know you can buy purse handles off eBay and Amazon because I've seen them on there before. Or like I said, you can just make your own too. That would work out just fine. And then I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Okay, you want to start off with a chain of 42. And once you get your chain of 42 made, you want to do a single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. And remember, we don't count this one that's on our hook. So 1, 2, single in the second stitch. And then I'm going to put one single in every single stitch for the length of the chain. So just like this. One single every stitch all the way to the end. Okay, when you make it to the end of row 1, you should have 41 stitches now. And now we're going to start row 2 by chaining 1 and turning our work. We're going to put a single crochet in the first 2 stitches. So we're going to go in this very first one right here, and then a single crochet into the next stitch. Now we're going to do a bobble. And I'll show you how we do that. They're really pretty easy. We're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. Now we want to do that 5 times total. So that was 1. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. That's 2 times. Yarn over, same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, that's 3 times. Yarn over, same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, first 2, that's 4 times. Yarn over, same stitch, drop a loop, go through the first 2, that was 5 times. And now you will have 6 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 6, and I always kind of pull it tight. And then I'm going to go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch. And that is how you create a bobble. Now the bobble shows up on the opposite side. So there it is. So again, we're going to go in the next stitch and do another bobble. So we're going to yarn over, go in, drop a loop, yarn over, and go through the first 2 loops on my hook. We want to do that 5 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, and there's 5. 6 loops remain. Yarn over and go through all 6. Give it a tug and then single crochet right into the next stitch. And there's our second bobble, and if you flip it over, there it is. You'll see it. So we're just going to kind of repeat that pattern until we get to the end of the row. So I'm going to bobble again in the next stitch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops remain. Yarn over, go through all 6. Give it a little tug and then single crochet into the next stitch. Just like that. So there's another bobble. So I'm going to do that all the way to the end of my chain. Bobble in the next stitch and then single crochet. Bobble, single crochet, bobble, single crochet. I'm actually going to do that until I get to the last 2 stitches of my row. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 2, and I did a bobble there, and I have 2 stitches left. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull that bobble tight, and I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch, and then single crochet into the last stitch. Now, counting the bobbles and the single crochets, you should have 41 stitches still. You should always have 41. Now I'm going to chain 1 for a row 3 and turn. Now what I'm going to do is put 1 single crochet in every single stitch of the row. So 1 right in the very first one, and then 1 in the next one, and then you got to do the one that's on top of the bobble. You can see it right there. And the one that's the single crochet that's in between the bobbles, and then on top of the bobble, and then the one here that's in between the bobbles, and then on top of the bobble. If you flip it over a little bit, you'll be able to see it right there, and then in between the bobbles, and then on top of the bobbles. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way until I get to the end of the row. Of row 3, I made it to the end of row 3, and I have my 41 stitches. So what I'm going to do is change colors here. Now you can slip stitch your new color in. I don't do that. Every single time I change colors, I tie off. I don't know why. That's just the way I do it. I have a lot of tails to hide, but oh well. That's just the way I've always done it. So, but you can change colors any way that you learned how, if you just prefer to slip stitch your new color through. Or you can make this one solid color if you want. But once you start your new color here, or if you're keeping the same color, we're going to start round 4, we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to put, for round 4, we're going to put 1 single crochet in the very first stitch. Now we're going to put a bobble into the next stitch. Six loops on my hook, yarn over, go through all of them, and then I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch. Now I'm going to bobble into the next stitch, and then single crochet into the next. And this is what I'm going to repeat for row 4. Bobble into the next, and single crochet into the next. Now if we flip it around and look, we'll see the bobbles are, I guess you probably can't tell that well with the black, but they are opposite each other. Like this bobble's hanging over here, this bobble is in between this bobble, or in between these two bobbles, this bobble's in between these two bobbles. And once you get more rows going, you'll be able to see that they'll be like checkered looking, because we're making them offset from each other. So the next one is going to be a bobble. It's the same, pretty much the same, except for instead of doing 2 single crochets in the beginning, we did 1 and then a bobble. So that's pretty much the only difference. Otherwise the row is done the same. That's what made them offset like that. So I'm going to continue doing my bobble, single crochet, repeat until I get to the end of row 4. And I still should be keeping my 41 stitches. I should always have 41. Just like that. I'm coming to the end. I'm coming to the end of row 4. I just did my bobble, and now you can see there's only 1 stitch left this row. So go ahead and single crochet in it, like that. And then for row 5, we're going to chain 1 and turn. You still should have your 41 stitches. I'm sorry. And now it's going to be 1 single crochet in every stitch again. So 1 single crochet in that first stitch, 1 single crochet on top of the bobble, single crochet into the stitch between the bobble, single crochet on top of the bobble, in between the bobble, and on top of the bobble. So just like we did before, in between the bobbles and on top of the bobbles, all the way until you get to the end of the row. I made it to the end of row 5. I'm going to do a color change, so I tie off, you color change however you color change, but I always do it this way. So I'm going to go back to my white now. Remember, you should have your 41 stitches still. And now all it is a repeat of rows 2 through 5. So I'm going to start my yarn here in this last stitch that I just ended in. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Now I'm going to repeat rows 2 through 5, so which means I'm going to put a single crochet in the very first stitch and a single crochet into the next stitch, and then I'm going to start my bobble. So I'm going to bobble into the next one, single crochet in the next, bobble in the next, single in the next, and that's what I'm going to repeat all the way to the end. I'm just going to do a few so we can see what it looks like now. Yeah, I think it's going to look pretty cool when we get more rows going. Yeah. So we're just going to keep repeating rows 2 through 5. So when I get done with this one, I'll just chain 1 and turn, and I'll have to do a row of single crochet across. Then I'll switch colors, and I'll start my black row of bobbles, and then I'll do my black row of single crochet. So I'm just going to keep repeating rows 2 through 5 until I get this pretty long. Okay, I have done a total of 55 rows, and that is starting from row 1. So row 1 was single crochet, and then the bobble was 2, and then we did single crochet in the middle, that was 3, the bobble will be 4, then the single crochet will be 5, the bobble will be 6. So all the way up from row 1 I did 55 rows, and that's including the single crochet rows in between them. And I ended, you should have ended, if you're doing the same color as me, I guess, as in a white row, or the same color that you started with down here. Okay, now we're going to sew it together. I got all kinds of tails to hide. That's okay though. Now we're going to sew it wrong side out. So we're going to line it up like this, and we're going to use excuse me, our yarn needle and a piece of yarn to do it. So I'm going to use some white yarn, because you'll probably be able to see that better. And we're just going to sew up each side as neatly as we can. And you want to make sure that you, oh, sorry about that. You want to make sure that you keep your rows lined up, your colors. Like, they have to stay, the bobble rows have to stay the same, stay together. That way they match. And when you flip it back around. So you'll have one row down here. This is by itself. So just start up here. And in these single crochets on the side, just kind of grab them. And make sure you're working it, you're sewing it inside out. And then we can, I'm going to tie a little knot here again. And then we can flip it right side out when we're finished sewing it together. Now, just sew it as neatly as you can. I'm not going to go over. You can do that if you want, I guess. I'm going to go back and forth. And I'm just going to do it. Take my time. Do it real neat. That way, I need to make sure to get, that way I can, I'm making sure and keeping the white and black rows lined up. So when I flip it right side out, it don't look funny. The rows aren't going to be off. So this is pretty much how you do it the whole way down. Make sure you pull it nice and tight. Kind of just pick up the top layer of stitches. That way your seam doesn't show through this white yarn, or whatever color yarn you're using. It doesn't show through too much on the other side. And by keeping your stitches tight, it shouldn't. And then going through this, like the top layer of stitches here. So just keep neatly sewing it up. Nice and tight. Nice and neat. Just take your time so your seam looks good. And this is how I'm going to sew both sides together. Just like this. That. Every once in a while you can kind of take a peek, making sure that you're keeping it lined up. Ugh. Yeah, mine are staying pretty lined up. Seams looking pretty good. You can't really see no white in my black rose there, so I'm going to keep going. So you just want to do that the same on both sides. So I'm going to go down this side, then I'm going to hide all these tails. Maybe I'll make my husband do it, but then I'm going to sew up this side too. Okay, once you get your work sewed up on the side, you just want to flip it right side out. And then, I don't think my seams look too bad. I kept them pretty lined up there. So, or the best I could. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but pretty much my main concern was keeping the white and the black lined up, and then I didn't want any of my white thread to bleed through the black rose, and I don't think that it did. I think that it turned out pretty good there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put a brim on the bag. I'm going to use black. You can use any color you want though. So I'm just going to start up here in the corner here, and one of these here's where we sewed it. There's a stitch on this side and a stitch on this side, just one of the stitches there right by the seam. I'm going to chain one, go back in the same stitch and single crochet. Now I'm going to work one single crochet in every stitch around the top of the bag. Just like that, and I'll meet you when we get over here to this corner over here. Okay, I've made it over here to the other side here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to continue around working one single crochet in every stitch. So let me pull this up here. There's the seam. You just kind of skip that seam and just go straight over here to the first stitch here. So when we started, we had 41 stitches at the end of each row. We're continuing that. There would be 41 on this side and 41 on this side. So when you make it back around, you should have a total of 82 stitches. So I'm just going to continue going, working one single crochet in every stitch until I get back to my starting point. Okay, when you make it back to your starting point, you should have your 82 stitches. So what I'm going to do is put a stitch marker here in my starting point. That way I know where I end and where I begin, because now I'm going to be working in a round. Now we're going to do a row of decreases. So we're just going to jump over here to the first single crochet. Not the chain one. I apologize for the black, but just jump right over to the first single crochet and single crochet in it. What we want to do is 4 single crochets in a row and then a single crochet decrease. So that counts as our first single crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to decrease, and a decrease is worked over 2 stitches. So we go into the next stitch, drop a loop, and then the next one, drop a loop, and yarn over and go through all 3 loops. That took 2 stitches and made it into 1. Now we're going to repeat that, 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then decrease over the next 2. So go into the next one, drop a loop, the next one, drop a loop, yarn over and go through all 3 loops. Again, 1 single crochet in the next 4. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then decrease over the next 2. So go into the next one, drop a loop, and then the next one, drop a loop, yarn over and go through all 3 loops on my hook. Sorry about that. This thing's so big it's knocking my camera around. So you just want to repeat that all the way around. 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches, and then a single crochet decrease. 1 single crochet next 4, and then the decrease. All the way around back to the beginning. Okay, after you finish your last repeat and you did a decrease here, you should have 4 stitches left. What you want to do is go ahead and single crochet into the next 2. So 1 single crochet in the next 2, and then single crochet decrease over the last 2. So go into the next one, drop a loop, next one, drop a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. And now you should have a total of 68 stitches all the way around. So I'm going to pull my marker up, and now I'm going to continue around putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. So we're not going to decrease anymore. Just like this. 1 single every stitch around. And when you make it back to your stitch marker, you still should have 68 stitches. I'm actually going to continue this for three rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So that will total 5 rows of single crochet at the top here. We did the first row of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and then we did the decrease row, and now we're working on 1 row of single crochet, and we want to do that 3 times. So it'll be the first one, the decrease, and then 3 more of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and that'll be a total of 5 rows up here at the top. And you should have 68 stitches every time you make it back to your stitch marker. Once you make it back around to your stitch marker and you did your 3 additional rows of 1 single crochet in every stitch, so you have a total of 5 up here, you just want to go ahead and end it by slip stitching into your next stitch, and you can take that stitch marker out and tie this off. Clip your yarn here, and I'm going to go ahead and hide this tail. The last thing that you want to do is sew on your handles, which I already did. If you don't have these type of handles, you can use any type of handle that you have, or you can make your own. But I just use a yarn needle, you can't see it, and I just sewed them right on there. So it was just wrapped around, so it was real easy. But like I said, you can make your own too. 2 small ones, 2 long ones, 1 long one, however you want to do it. If you can't find handles like these. And then the rows is optional too, but I just sewed it right on too with the yarn needle and some yarn. And remember, I have a tutorial for that rose, so I'll put the link to that below in the description box. But that's it. That's all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And then until next time, have a good day.